What the Tech is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website, blog, portfolio, and now an online store. Check out the new commerce solution so you can get started selling your stuff immediately. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on a new account, go to squarespace.com and use offer code WhatTheTech6. Carbonite Online Backup. Automatic, continual, and unlimited backups for your computer. Try it for free at Carbonite.com and use offer code WhatTheTech and get 2 bonus months with purchase.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian, and of course I'm joined by Mr. Chilled Red Wine himself, Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
Chilled red wine today. So for people who are watching live, obviously we're doing our drinking show. For people who are listening to the podcast, guess what we're doing? We're drinking today.
I guess I'm supposed to say pretty well.
Are you not doing well?
Not pretty good.
I don't know what's happening here. Hold on, the buttons are all messed up. There you go. Okay, that's us. There we go. Paul, what are you drinking today before we get into the tech stuff?
Well, I'm running out of alcohol here, so I have a chilled red wine.
So I also, surprisingly, I mean, I'm drinking a chilled red wine too. And when I did it, I actually felt guilty that Paul's going to be like, "What the hell's wrong with you? You don't chill a red wine."
Yeah, no, you can chill some red wine. You don't chill most red wines. I don't feel very good about it either, though, to be honest. I know there are going to be some people that are going to have an issue with this.
You feel guilty?
A little bit.
Yeah, so do I. But what I did with mine...
Even though I know it's A-okay.
So I'm having a Cabernet Merlot blend, but I actually made it into a sangria. I put a little seltzer in it and cut up a couple apples. It does not taste like a sangria. It just looks like one. Actually, it doesn't even look like a sangria. It looks like I just threw a couple pieces of apple in this thing. But it's pretty good. I'm very excited for it.
I'm since we're discussing this strange non-tech related topic, I will say, in the summer especially, like if I drink white wine or sparkling wine, which drives some people insane, I will actually put an ice cube in the wine as well sometimes. Some people don't like that, but I like these things to be as cold as possible.
Yeah, this is a red wine spritzer.
Yeah, it's actually... Yeah,
it is. That's all it is. Someone in our chat says it's a spritzer. When I was 6, I was given this over Passover.
There you go.
That's when I drank my first spritzer too during Passover.
It is the wine of children.
The wine. But we're gonna be drinking today, so it's gonna be a little bit of a loose show. You know, last week there was so much happening in technology between Microsoft and between Sony and Apple. I mean, it was just such an all-out war amongst everybody. And we're kind of going to cover that too, but I kind of wanted to keep it loose and I wanted to have fun today because last week was an exhausting week if you cover technology. And I know last week was insane for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was I away? I wasn't away last week, but I've had some trips recently. I've got one coming up soon again, and these are always busy times. But last week was crazy. Yeah, it was really busy. I
mean, the crazy part was that everything happened at the same time, and then it just died. Right. Everything just like flatlined after that.
Yeah, I mean, right. I'm not clear that everything died for me, but yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, this has been such a weird year, and I don't remember if we discussed this explicitly last week, but I have this notion that the Xbox guys have never really screwed up with their audience before. Yeah. And even when they were doing bad things like, red ringing machines left and right, that
they were still defended.
Yeah. And that all changed this past week. And
so what do you think it is? Is it their attitude, or is it that the audience is kind of smartening up and they're realizing, well, look at all the options we have. I
don't actually think the options are any better than they've ever been. I mean, to be honest. So the notion that the PS4 is somehow, more powerful than the Xbox One is as ludicrous as the notion that the PS3 was more powerful than the Xbox 360, and that somehow would lead some people to pick that over.
Well, I don't think it's the power thing. This is the first time that these two consoles have come out at the same time. We also have to remember that, and I think that plays a major part in it, because now there's that head-to-head. There's always been a 1 or 2 year gap between the releases. Now we're seeing, if you were an Xbox guy, you still had the option of buying a PlayStation when it first came out. Now it's like a real war where these two things are coming out around the same time, and you got to pick which one you want.
I've thrown a theory by a couple of people, including Mary Jo Foley, and actually I have to say, every time I've offered this up as a possible reason for this bad PR that they're now getting, most people have said they don't think this is even part of it. But I'll just throw out the notion that, they're coming off of Windows 8, and Windows 8 has been somewhat of a debacle for Microsoft. And it's possible that this is a continuation of that, where people, and I've raised this issue myself, is Xbox One the same thing as Windows 8 when you compare it to what Microsoft is providing versus what the community is asking for?
No, that's a very good question.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I don't know. To me, I think that they're so different. The people that are criticizing Microsoft for Windows 8, it's not. It's almost like it's not the same user base. The Xbox has been untouchable at this point.
Right.
And
by the way, I
don't
think
they care about it.
That's the rationale behind maybe what I just said is not true. Like, in other words, the people who love the Xbox and are really into that kind of thing, they're really, whatever. They're not concerned about what's going on with Windows. They're not concerned with the rest of the Microsoft ecosystem necessarily.
I also think that it was a lot of negativity towards the Xbox early. I mean, just on speculation, it was a lot of negative speculation about how it may not have a disk drive, and it may be due to this DRM, USB stick, and all this crazy stuff. So already it was kind of working people up. And
but you know what? Even then, I remember having conversations with people where I'd say, guys, when they announce what they're doing, you're going to love it, and there's nothing to worry about. And then they announce what they were doing, and people don't love it, and people do have things that they worry about. So, again, things have changed. I mean, it's interesting.
It is interesting, and like a couple things that there's a lot of, and I kind of wanted to do this today, but I wasn't prepared enough. Maybe we'll do it next week. But I kind of want to set the record straight about what people think the Xbox is compared to what it actually is going to do. Like this whole DRM stuff with used games. Sony, everybody's saying, "Oh my God, Sony's not going to do it. Sony's so great," but Sony pretty much said that they're going to do the same exact thing, and that's leave it up to the publisher of the game.
Well, right. So, by the way, again, this is unique in the history of video gaming. But as far as Microsoft goes, I've been writing about Microsoft for almost exactly 20 years now. This is very common when it comes to Microsoft, that Microsoft is criticized for something that other companies are doing, whoever their competitors are in the given market, and that those competitors, for some reason, get a pass. On the exact same thing. It's really strange. I mean, people are really kind of picking and choosing the complaints and overlooking the benefits of some of the things that Microsoft is doing as well. And, frankly, I guess they haven't done a great job of explaining it.
I mean, and their responses, when they were, I forgot the guy's name, but when they were kind of asked about the always on, the always pinging home feature, they said, well, we make a great console for that, and that's the 360.
Yeah, dumb answer.
That
guy.
That's a stupid answer. That really is a dumb answer.
Well, remember how Steven Sinofsky miraculously disappeared from Microsoft one day?
Yeah.
I suspect that guy, who unfortunately is looking kind of like a boob these days, is going to suffer from a similar fate.
Have you heard if they're like going into like PR overdrive where they're saying like, okay, well, this is not good, that all these people, all these diehard gamers are kind of against a lot of the stuff that we're kind of presenting to them. We have to kind of spin it in this way. Is that happening now, or are they just kind of steamrolling with their plan?
Yeah, I have not heard. That has to be happening. It has to be. I saw an interview with Major Nelson this morning on video, which was ridiculous and horrible. But he sort of said, "Look, we're full steam ahead. We know we've got a good product. We need to do a good job of talking about that." I think the conversation's gotten away from them, and that again is the same problem that happened with the Windows 8 guys. So It's a tough perception's a tough thing to overcome.
It's scary because if you had even during a time that, I think when we I guess when we were kind of talking about the Xbox stuff and it got picked up everywhere, which bizarrely in every Mediterranean and Middle Eastern paper that picked up the story, they wrote Paul Thurrott and they put my picture on it.
Nice.
Which was hysterical because I guess they would prefer me to be Paul Thurrott because I'm region friendly.
You right.
It was hysterical.
Right.
It was this Turkish newspaper and it said Microsoft journalist Paul Thurrott.
Yeah.
And it was me. It was my picture.
That's great. I should look that good. That would be nice.
I couldn't stop laughing. I'm sure in Ireland they picked your face up.
Yeah, exactly. And it said Andrew Zarian. Andrew McZarian.
But when that was happening, I still said, you know what? Microsoft is going to do their big unveiling. They're going to announce all the features, and all these people that are complaining about all this stuff, they're going to set the record straight. They're going to, talk to them, and it's going to fix everything. And that did not happen.
No, it did not.
It actually kind of fueled the fire a little bit more with some unanswered questions. And Paul, you helped me out because you know what? I'll probably get crap for this, and people say how could you talk about without knowing? I still don't really understand what the always on means.
Yeah, let's go back. You just reminded me because we did talk about this some time ago, and so back in January and the January to March timeframe, I got a lot of information about the next Xbox, which you may recall was codenamed Durango. And there were a couple of other things going on. And so these are the things that I wrote about and that we talked about ahead of time. And you can see that, this is the stuff that happened. First thing I found out in early January was that Durango was going to be pricey, $499, which is what happened. The announcement was going to be made April 24th. And you'll recall later on, they pushed that back to May 21st, which I found out in March. More detail coming at E3, a launch in the holiday time period. Later found out in March. Launch was now early November. Blu-ray would be included. And this is the key bit, and this is the thing we talked about. I looked this up on that show that you're referring to. It says Blu-ray included, must be internet connected to use. And in the speculation that was leading up to the launch of this device, somebody said, how do you know that the internet connected thing isn't related to the Blu-ray?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's a good question, because I really don't know. I only know what I'm given here. So, but now we know that it must be internet connected to use, and we can expand on that a little bit. 2 additional device types that were, one happened and one didn't happen. There was something called Yuma, which was the code name for the entertainment-only non-gaming version of the Xbox. That was put on hold in January. They were originally going to ship the 2 versions, like one that was a game machine and one that was only the entertainment stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was a second one called Stingray, and this is it's funny because this is not the way it worked, but it says launching alongside Durango, a redesigned version of the Xbox 360 will be less expensive than the existing Xbox 360.
So was that going to be like the whatever? Like people were speculating that there was going to be a mini version of the Xbox One.
I would imagine that was the Yuma one, okay. And then I had so because and I wrote about this. The new version of the Xbox 360 is not less expensive than the old version, and is not launching in November alongside Durango. It in fact is out right now. So that stuff has obviously evolved. I mean, that was from back in January. But by the time we get to March, there were some more details, and most of them I've already stepped through. One was that it would be based on the Windows 8 core, which Microsoft kind of sidestepped around, but it is really based on Windows 8. I have to think that if Windows 8 had launched to tremendous success,
totally different,
was another Windows 95, they would have said based on Windows 8. They would have been very clear about that. Now they're trying to fudge it a little bit and say, oh, it's 3 OSs in one, and when you have the Hyper-V underneath, it's Windows 8.
So what is it? It's the Windows. It's obviously Windows 8, and then the other one is, I guess, whatever's running the game.
Hyper-V is the underlying platform. Hyper-V is a Windows platform, by the way.
Yeah.
It's the Windows hypervisor. When you install Hyper-V on Windows 8 today, or you install it on Windows Server today, it actually does something kind of interesting in that it goes between the OS and the hardware. So it's really the underlying. When you think about these things in kind of strict technical terms, it becomes the OS, if you will.
But did they explain it as that? Did they say it was Hyper-V?
They did, not well, but this is correct. What I'm saying is correct. The underlying bit is Hyper-V. And so there's something they're calling the Xbox OS, which they're saying is for the games, and there's Windows 8, which is for the app switching, for the apps and so forth. So next week, maybe we're going to find out some good news about the app situation on Xbox. We'll see. But at the time in March, they were talking about two versions of the console again, $499 for the basic version, and then a version that would be $299 with that $15 per month Xbox Live subscription.
Yeah.
Then subsequent, I can't remember when this happened, but I want to say it was in May before the reveal event. I was contacted and they said, "Hey, we're not doing the subscription version." So I thought about that a little bit. That's an interesting story as well, because you think about a $200 savings. Xbox Live Gold is $120 for 2 years of a subscription. And so you're not saving any money. I'm sorry. You're spending an additional, what did I just say? You're spending an additional $80 over 2 years to do it this way if they allowed it.
Yeah.
But I think what Microsoft figured out was that giving people a subsidized version of the console doesn't actually make a lot of sense, because the Xbox One actually requires an Xbox Live Gold subscription when you think about it.
To access all those features like
right.
Netflix and
I'm not
Hulu.
saying it's useless without it, but it's severely detuned from the full feature set. And so I have to think they were looking at this value proposition, and they said, we're getting an Xbox Live Gold subscription from everyone who spends $500 in this console. Why would we be offering a version for $300? I mean, who wouldn't do that? Everyone who gets this console is going to want this subscription, So that's interesting. And so there's roughly the stuff that I'd heard about the console building up to the launch. And as you can see, I'm building up to the reveal, I guess. And if you compare this information to what happened, you can see most of it did happen as described. Some things changed, like the subscription offering was dropped. Stingray came out earlier than I was told originally, but it's all pretty much there.
But you know what else is fascinating? And then I want to go into the developers and hopefully we'll get a build. But what's fascinating is that early on they kind of screwed up with this too. I was just thinking while you were talking, remember the whole Netflix debacle and somebody asked them why do you require a subscription to access a subscription service? And they kind of were like, well, we consider ourselves a premium service. And it was this kind of weird answer they gave on why you are required an Xbox Gold account to access Netflix. I don't know. Maybe it's just the direction that they've been headed with this. The team has changed, and they're bringing this weird vibe to the entire thing. This message rings
really hollow to me. Just speaking generally about Microsoft, this is the company that came into the PC world, and then the the workgroup server market, or the workgroup computing market, and the server market, cloud services, and in every case said, everything here is too complex and too expensive. We're going to fix that, and they do it. That's Microsoft's bread and butter. They do a really good job of that kind of stuff. Obviously, things have changed over time where, Windows is ostensibly competing with something that is free called Linux. Windows Phone is absolutely competing with something that's free called Android, although obviously there are other costs around Android. But for the most part, Microsoft has done a good job by appealing to the masses and being that kind of low-cost, high-quality entry.
Yeah.
When you listen to someone like Don Matrick or Major Nelson, or whoever it is, trying to justify the cost of the Xbox One by saying they're delivering incredible value, even though it's really expensive, or what you're saying, we're the only ones that charge you people for this stuff, but it's a great value. Here's why it makes sense. I mean, I think what you're seeing is something that is contrary to the entire point of Microsoft, and B, is evidence that Microsoft, when given a captive audience that will do anything they say, will charge the hell out of them because they can get away with it.
Absolutely.
It's this business,
I mean, I've kind of defended them on the pricing, but I want to go into that. But let's take a little break and let's talk about Squarespace. Now, what is Squarespace, you ask? I mean, everybody knows what it is, but if you don't know what Squarespace is a all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional blog, website, a portfolio, and now an online store, which is amazing. And they're offering a great deal for our audience. If you want to try out Squarespace, go to squarespace.com and you put in offer code WhatTheTech6, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase on a new account. Now, some of the great things is Chauncey Hayden that does a show for me. He is a photographer, and I think the website should be up next week, so I'll actually show the next time we're doing the ad for them. But he's a photographer that's never had a website, and he wants to build a portfolio for people to see what he's done and all the celebrity he's shot over the last 25 years that he's been doing this. And I've been creating a Squarespace site because it's scalable. It kind of works on whatever device you're on. If you're on an iPad, if you're on a phone, if you're on a laptop, you're going to get a very similar experience where it's not going to kind of look funky on the device. And that's what they do. It's amazing. The other thing is, if you're looking to create an e-commerce store, which I know a lot of people are, it's very expensive. I know people that have been quoted up to $20,000 to $30,000 to create a internet-based store to sell their goods. You want it to be safe. You want it to be secure. You want it to work well. You want it to be simple for people to navigate. Squarespace now has an e-commerce solution where it integrates everything in one Squarespace template. It allows you to sell both physical media and digital media. So if you're selling MP3s or ebooks, it's very easy. And they do all the work for you, so you don't even have to think twice about it. Very, very easy, very simple to use. And it's a reliable service with 24/7 tech support. Squarespace.com and use offer code WhatTheTech6 and you get 10% off your first purchase with a new account after a free trial, because you get a free trial also. I want to thank Squarespace for supporting What the Tech. I love those guys. And Paul, your check is in the mail, I swear to God.
My check?
Actually, yep. I'm sending you a check.
Oh, nice.
Actually, it's not in the mail. It's actually sitting here. Hold on. Let me see. Where is it? It's sitting there because I didn't have a stamp, and I had to find someone with a stamp. So it's sitting here. It says, to Paul Thurrott, and I drew a little apple on the back.
Wow, this is like a kid's lemonade stand on the corner.
Hold on. Let me get it for you. Hold on. I'll get it right now. So here it is. I put stickers.
Where's this thing?
I put stickers on this thing. And on the inside, actually, there's a little apple drawing I made for you.
Nice, thank you. By the way, if I cut off suddenly again, it's not because I shut down Skype with some weird keyboard combination, although I guess that's possible. We have some kind of like a severe weather alert occurring.
Oh, wow.
And it is starting to rain. But
not good at all.
I think yesterday was worse than today's going to get.
Yesterday was amazing here. It's muggy, it's hot, it's 100 degrees in here, it's out of control.
It's been beautiful all day, but then it got dark and now it's raining and I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just say we won't be playing baseball today outside.
I'm sorry. Or were you planning on playing baseball?
There was a possibility that my son would be playing today, but I don't think so.
Do you play? I know you play basketball.
No, I don't play. No, I play basketball. Yeah.
So you're coming to New York soon, right? You tweeted this and people got very excited.
There's a Nokia event. I think it's on July 11th, maybe.
Okay.
So I believe I know I will be in Pennsylvania leading up to that. So I'm either going to come up on the train from Pennsylvania and then go home from there, or maybe I'll go home first and come back. But yeah, I'll be coming to New York.
So I think we should have a basketball tournament where we play each other.
I have a better idea because I would actually kill you at basketball.
Okay. I don't know. I played for my high school basketball team 14 years ago.
All right. So I did too, but I still play now. And I'm bigger than you, and I cheat. So,
All right. Let's talk about
playing
build.
a lot of NBA Jam on my phone lately.
Well, that'll make you a professional.
Yeah.
I have Jordans, so I'll put on the sneakers and I'll be able to play.
You don't have those old, what are they called? The Chuck.
The Converse sneakers? No, I don't have that.
Old, the old-fashioned Larry Bird sneakers. Chuck Connors.
No, not Chuck Connors. Was it Chuck Connors?
Yeah, Chuck Connors.
I don't know. Let's talk about build because build is next week, and I'm really the one thing that I don't care about the rest of build. The one thing I care about is that they're going to open up the Xbox for developers and make it easy for Chuck Taylor's. Thank you, Rev.
Taylor. What did I say? Chuck Connors?
Chuck Connors.
Chuck Connors was an awesome actor in the 1970s, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think so.
Did he have sneakers?
No.
I'm really hoping that they open it up for the Xbox and they make it easy for developers to kind of develop without charging you an astronomical fee.
I pray to God that is happening.
To develop for us. So what's hinting? Is anything hinting towards that? And
by the way, Chuck Connors is an excellent actor from the 1970s. Anyway, he was on. What was he on? He was on. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. The Rifleman.
Chuck Connors,
yeah.
So are they? What do you think the outcome of build is going to be for the Xbox and development for the Xbox? Because There's two issues here. One is that they open it up and they allow third-party games to come on there, and they open up for application developers, so whatever you want, much like the App Store, to kind of be on the Xbox. And the other one is that they have strict guidelines to what kind of apps could be developed for the Xbox.
There was a weird about face I saw at the Sony. I went back and watched the two press conferences just the other day, and there's this moment at the Sony press conference where they say, we fully support indie games, and the crowd went nuts, as if all of us were looking for indie games. It's kind of like I go to the iTunes music store so I can find indie, bluegrass music. Like this is what we're all looking for. Microsoft has always done an amazing job of supporting indie developers on the Xbox 360, and I would just be shocked if not only it was awesome, but if it was not in fact better than it is today. And by that I mean, they need to have a version of the Visual Studio Express product, which is free, that would let any human being on earth who wanted to write an app or a game that could run on the Xbox One, just as you can today with Windows 8, Windows RT, Windows Phone. Like they need to do that. If they don't do that, I will be blown away. Like I that to me is the baseline, that it has to be that awesome, that needs to be the story. I would just be shocked. And so I'm hoping that that's the case. I don't have any information about that. I don't know. One way or the other, I haven't heard, but I mean, just knowing Microsoft, knowing what they're capable, knowing the way they do things, and knowing what they've done in the recent past to support these new platforms, knowing that Windows 8 is sitting underneath the Xbox One and that these programming models could and should be nearly identical.
I mean, what kind of apps what kind of apps would you like to see on the Xbox? That's the big question. I mean,
sure.
Are they going to make it like Android where everything is kind of on there, or are they going to see? Here's the big problem that I have. What's the Xbox experience going to be like with Angry Birds, being developed for the Xbox?
Right. Well, no. I guess it gives us the chance to have like a farting app with 7.1 surround sound.
Yeah.
No, I don't. No, I mean, I don't think you can have a modern computing platform without having a store experience. And obviously they have they're going to have a store experience with Electronic Arts and all those guys. But I do think that.
Ooh, look at that!
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Free and low cost games and apps, by the way, from individual developers, from small studios, from whatever.
Man,
are also
and that is a huge Steam competitor, isn't it? Think about that.
It puts the Xbox One on equal footing with everything else, with the iPhone, with Windows. As it should. It needs to be that, because we've talked in the past about how the market for a video game machine, a dedicated console, is fairly limited. We know that they've sold roughly 70 to 80 million units of both the 360 and the PS4. But they sold more than that number of PCs in the previous quarter, which is one of the worst quarters in PC history.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple announced the other week that they've sold over 600 million iOS devices. The potential market is so much bigger than what it is if it's just a video game machine. It can't just be games, and it can't just be games written by EA and by Activision and all these big companies. It has to be the gamut, And we'll see how they handle it. Like I said, I have no inside information about this. I don't know what they're going to do. I could potentially be disappointed, but if they aren't that good, then they have made a huge mistake.
Absolutely. And for someone like me that is not a hardcore gamer, and I'm sure, we have about almost 200 people in our chat room right now, a couple thousand people watching. I guarantee you the gaming portion of this audience is tiny compared to the audience that is into an entertainment device, an all-around entertainment device. The last game that I purchased on my Xbox was Castle Raiders, Castle Crashers?
Sure.
Castle Crashers. That was the last one, and that's an older game, but it's this like weird beat 'em up side-scrolling game that.
Andrew, I'm sorry. Can I interrupt you?
Yeah,
for 1
go
second?
ahead.
I don't usually pay attention to the chat room, but I noticed that Darren Cohen has asked, what are my thoughts about him joining from my Dell running Linux Mint 15? I just want to state publicly that you are dead to me.
Well, he's a Mets fan too. Darren's from Queen. He's a Mets fan.
Yeah, so I'll see him in July. Yeah. Hopefully not with his Linux Mint machine. Anyway, I'm sorry. Please continue.
That's all right. Darren gets a buy. He's a big fan of my friend's company, the 7 Line. So,
okay. Good.
The Mets clothing brand. Made for winners, not losers. That should be the brand for them. But there's a couple issues. So someone like me that has not bought a Call of Duty and spent $70, I'm far more likely to spend $15 and buy a cute little game like that I could play and I could have fun.
99 cents. How about?
Yeah, I mean, I'll spend $20, $15 on a game to $9 on a game, but the odds of me going and purchasing a $70 game, sure, it's not going to happen. The reality of that happening,
if this thing is opened up in the proper way, it could change everything. And even if you want to just talk about the kind of mainstream games like Call of Duty, for example, Call of Duty and games like Call of Duty, Battlefield and Medal of Honor and all these other games are all kind of designed the same way. They're like movies. They have astronomical budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars. They take months and months and months to create. It's a huge production. There's a single-player experience. There's a multiplayer experience. In some of the games, they have that kind of zombie experience. All this stuff going on. I mean, why does Call of Duty have to be this monolithic thing? Why can't Call of Duty be an online service where it evolves over time and you maybe subscribe to it or something, and they add levels, they add guns, they add capabilities. It's like this thing that changes over time. I mean, right now, we're still locked into this kind of weird model with these huge video games that's sort of like the old TV model where we'd all sit around the TV on Thursday night and watch Seinfeld or whatever. It doesn't have to be that way. And so I think part of the movement that could happen behind the Xbox One, if they get all this stuff right, is not just that thing I just described, is a new way of doing old things, but also just new things. We've talked in the past about how the advent of touchscreens created new physics-based games that kind of never would have existed otherwise because no one wrapped a head around that kind of usage model before. I mean, this new cloud-based gaming system that they're making that has all these huge servers on the back end and all this stuff has the capability to change things, in ways that I can't, because I'm not very imaginative, predict or expect, and I think those are the exciting things. I mean, and we'll see, and people will still be complaining because they can't, give a DVD or something to a friend or whatever it is. People will still have these weird complaints, but I think there is some forward-leaning stuff here.
I mean, some of the other things that something that I've totally I'm surprised by that they didn't mention is that this second screen experience with gaming on the Xbox, something that is a huge seller for me for the Nintendo Wii. That I think that they had the right idea, but they have executed it in a totally awful way. And that is how some games like Mario, for example, when I have a Wii U, I'm a big Mario fan. My wife was watching TV, and I was still able to play the game on their little, their screen, their controller. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was great. The experience was exactly what I would get on the TV. It was easy to play. I didn't have a lot of problems with it. But why? I'm surprised we didn't get some announcement saying, and if you have a Surface, guess what? You could have a second screen experience on your Surface or on your Windows Phone, and you could play the same game on this thing. Or select games. You could play whatever game. I mean, obviously, you're not going to want to play Call of Duty on this thing, but you would have this experience on here, and you'd be able to play certain games. I'm surprised they didn't go there.
Right.
I mean, they're kind of missing that, in my opinion. Or maybe it's only a small portion of people that kind of want something like that. Because they don't have a portable device. Nintendo does. They have the 3DS, and they have whatever, and plus they have the little controller. So I think that's a big problem. It hasn't
taken off in the market in a big way, but I was also struck during the PlayStation event, which they kind of focused on this right up front, if I'm not mistaken. The PlayStation has that PS Vita device, which again hasn't really sold very well compared to.
Have you used? Like your son has one, right?
Yeah.
It's actually a really good device.
It is, yeah. It's a little old school in some ways, but they're positioning it as that second screen, as the perfect second screen for the PS4. In fact, they were very upfront saying, look, we designed the PS4. We're thinking that they're going to be the ultimate device for this. Like Microsoft, they're also going to have these second screen experiences on tablets and phones, and they'll do all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. My house is like shaking.
Yeah.
So
God is angry.
Yeah, he likes the PS4. I guess. And so we'll see. I'm interested in it. I mean, I have to say, for years I had hoped for a version of the PSP that had the second stick, so you could do the true first-person shooter experience. Because if you use an Xbox controller or a PS controller or a PS3 controller today, use one of the sticks to move, and then you use the other one to look. It's kind of like the mouse looks thing you use on a PC when you have a keyboard and a mouse. And that was the crucial bit that was always missing from these portable game machines, and it's certainly missing from all of the touch-based screens. Those kind of games that look beautiful, but they're terrible to play on a touch screen. And so, the PS Vita now, the new one, the PS Vita should be a huge advantage for Sony. Could be a huge advantage for Sony, especially among that crowd of people like me who like shooters. And they have great shooters on this device, like Resistance and Killzone. There's some really good stuff on there.
Are you getting a PS4 or no? You didn't pre-order it?
Yeah, no, I am. I definitely am.
Yeah,
I have already pre-ordered it. Yes. Yeah.
I ordered both and I never turn them on. I mean, that's what I do every year.
I actually just said to my son the other day, I'm like, we have a PS3 in the cellar, right? And he's like, I think so. And I said, I'm going to want to break that out soon and figure out, plug it together and update it and, look at it again. And he's like, yeah, good luck finding it. I think it's spread all over the house.
It's so disappointing because it's a very powerful console. The games are good for it. There's nothing wrong with the PS4 except for the fact that they do not understand. And listen, I may get crap for this, but I don't think Sony understands the American market as far as the things that we want from the device.
That's a very fair statement.
Okay.
Sony is very bad at user interface, and that's true both software and hardware. And in the hardware, it takes the form of such things as the Sony remote we always talk about that is like 227 buttons on it in a grid, or the tiny PS3 now and soon to be PS4 hand controller, which is not designed for my big meaty American hands, but is designed for the little Asiatic type hands that would be using it
like
in Japan
mine.
or whatever.
I have little hands.
Now, obviously, on any system, you should have both. You should have the choice, some choice. And my understanding is you can, in fact, use an Xbox controller and a PS4 with some sort of an adapter or whatever. And maybe that would be interesting. I'm not really sure, but it is not just my years of experience using Xbox that tells me that the Xbox controller is superior. It just is. I mean, and it's because it's something that has evolved over time. The original Xbox controller, the one that shipped with the very first Xbox, was humongous, was too big. And they moved down to this, I sort of think of it as a S controller type. They evolved it first for the original Xbox, then for the 360, and they're moving it forward to the Xbox One.
It's a great controller. I mean, they really, how I value some of these devices and how I kind of evaluate what like the normal person thinks, because Paul, myself, and pretty much anybody watching the show is not thinking like the average computer user and average any user. I mean, we are the enthusiasts that kind of nitpick, and
Sure.
The majority of people don't even care about always on. They don't even know what it is. They don't care about interface. They just want something that's going to work for them. The way that I kind of evaluate what people are perceiving of the product is my wife, because she is somewhat connected to the tech world because of me, but she really doesn't give a crap. She'll never. It's very rare for a product to catch her eye. One was the Surface. She really liked the Surface. Two, she really liked Windows 8, which I was really surprised about. Recently, she really likes the MacBook Air, and she kind of came to me. She's like, I kind of want to get a MacBook Air. I think it looks really nice. And I said, Paul would be very disappointed in you. And the other thing was, I watched the Xbox kind of keynote, the reveal of the product with my wife after we did the show, and she really was interested in it. And I was kind of explaining, I'm like, you don't have to go to like input one. She goes, that's what I want. And that's why we have a Google TV, is because I don't think the average person, that pass-through, in my opinion, will be a major selling point for the average, for someone, a real user of this product. I think that's going to be a big thing. I know you don't care about the pass-through. You think I'm insane about that. But I think for many people, the fact that this thing is always on and you don't have to worry about turning it on and using it makes a big difference.
Don't misunderstand my opinion about the pass-through. Actually, the pass-through is interesting. What I don't care about is live TV.
Okay. On the Xbox.
Yeah. Because if they're not going to integrate DVR capabilities in the console, if they're not going to make the console be something that can replace your current cable box or whatever you have, then these capabilities are just things on a thing. And I know from experience, as do you with your Google TV, that this kind of IR blasting disaster is horrible. Now, that doesn't mean this stuff can't change in the future and that things are coming that we don't know about. And so I think the video pass-through feature as it is now is actually pretty cool and has the potential to be amazing depending on what other things may or may not happen.
I mean, I'm surprised Sony, I think I said it last week, out of all the companies that would use it, it would be Sony.
Yeah.
Because Sony has the televisions.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
But, talking to Jess about this, by the way, you can follow my wife at Jessica Zarian and tell her I'm really hungry because I'm starving today. I haven't had anything to eat. Just let her know. just pick something up. I don't care if it's a chicken nugget or whatever. I don't care. Just tell Jessica Zarian that I'm starving. I think for certain people, this is going to be a big thing. That's why I use Google TV. That's why I'm suffering with it. But why hasn't Sony done this? Why hasn't Apple done this? I'm just trying to figure out why.
Because I don't actually think this problem can be solved without the interaction of the cable companies, and they have zero interest in letting someone else control the experience that their customers have through their service. And I think that's all it is.
But do you think it's more of the cable company, or do you think it's the television manufacturer? Because really, having a Google TV pass-through with Google TV box is not really changing the way I'm able to use my cable box. It's just making my TV look a lot prettier.
No, but that's what I mean. In other words, if you could change the way that you interact with the no matter how different would life be if your cable provider just had some sort of an open standard for how the TV was delivered, how the channel guides looked, and you could put anything on the front of it that you wanted. You're still paying them for the subscription. Why do you have to go through this East German Motorola-looking set-top box from the 1970s that it works slowly and poorly? I mean, why couldn't I have something elegant on the front of this thing? I've got the fastest connection in America. I mean, why am I being hobbled by this stupidity that you give me?
Insane. It's insane.
Yeah,
somebody that works with me, Suncast, in our chat room, he is going through this whole ordeal with cable cards and trying to get, he says it's the biggest nightmare ever because the cable company doesn't want to work with you. They don't want you to use a cable card and to kind of have your own experience. They are forcing you to this box, and they say, well, if you want, you could use a cable card, but really, we're not going to help you at all.
Right.
And you're going to get limited support. So it's a whole thing. I want to talk about, I actually want to do some of our viewer questions because I got a couple emails here. I put it out on Twitter saying that, it's a viewer choice show. You guys dictate the direction we want to go in. Everybody wanted us to talk about the Xbox, so that's what we did. But if you're in the chat room, send us your questions because we're going to be going through some questions and some topics right after this break. So send them my way. And I do want to talk about Carbonite for supporting. I want to thank them for supporting What the Tech. Man, this sangria, man, this thing is knocking me. Look at this. Getting loaded on a little girly drink again. But it is a drinking show. We are talking about technology and something that I'm going to be
floating in that again? Is that fruit?
It is fruit. It's apple. Couple apple slices cut up in this. And seltzer.
I'm not saying I'm embarrassed of you or for you, but okay.
I want to talk about Carbonite. What I'm going to do right after the show, actually, is format my streaming machine here. The main machine that I have Paul on here, and we're doing all our switching. I'm going to format it. And the reason why I'm able to say, you know what, no problem, I'm just going to blow everything away. No need to worry about, no need to back anything up, because normally it's like a 2-day ordeal for me. I spend one entire day backing everything up on a separate drive, an external drive, and then bringing everything back when I'm done formatting. I'm not going to be doing that. What I'm doing, everything is backed up to Carbonite. It's all the time. It's continual. So there's no worrying about, oh my God, did it back it up now? Is it backing it up later? I'm going to wipe everything off this computer, put and resync everything with Carbonite right after that. And it make it super, super easy because that's what Carbonite is. If you want to try Carbonite, you go to Carbonite.com, use offer code WhatTheTech, and you get 2 bonus months with purchase. So it's free to try. And if you decide you're going to sign up, guess what? 2 bonus months. So you're getting 14 months of backup service with Carbonite. You know what's funny? I know so many people, Paul, that do not back up their stuff. And when I tell them about Carbonite, it's like magic to them.
It is like magic.
They really don't understand that there's a service where they'll do everything for you. It's just automated, where you don't need to think about, oh, did I back this Word file up? It just doesn't. My wife is blown away by this. So they're amazing. I absolutely love Carbonite. I use it on I'll tell you, 1, 2, 3, 4 computers right now in my house are using Carbonite, and I think almost every one of my relatives is using Carbonite now. I want to thank Carbonite for supporting What the Tech, and I want to remind you all, go to Carbonite.com, get a free trial, try it for free, and use offer code What the Tech, and you get 2 bonus months with purchase. I want to thank Carbonite for supporting What the Tech. Thanks, Carbonite. I don't know what else to say. I don't know if they'll appreciate the sangria kicking my ass comment, but I may get a letter.
It's like hey. No, I'm just going to sit here and hope I don't get killed. Go ahead.
I want to remind everybody, it is the drinking show. We're having, I'm having a bootleg sangria here, pretty much a red wine spritzer. Paul is having a chilled red wine. We're doing it all wrong here. If you're in the chat room,
this is right. I'm.
You're not supposed to chill red wine.
You should not chill any red wine.
No, ever.
No. I'm sorry. I mean, you should not just chill, like just any red wine. Some red wines, it is perfectly acceptable to chill. Most red wines, it is not.
It's in the Zarian household, which my wife is a wine connoisseur. She has eradicated red wine from the summer. We are not allowed to drink red wine this summer.
I'm going to speak to your wife about this.
Well, she is a little insane, but we only drink.
This is very dictatorial.
It really is. And it's so weird. She's like a wine Nazi. We only drink white wine in the summer, and the white wine that we drink in the summer is 99% Pinot Grigio with a little bit of Riesling every now and then. And I'm not a fan of Riesling.
That's okay, as long as the Pinot Grigio is very dry.
Yeah.
But you need to tell your wife to lighten up.
I know. She's so uptight with the wine. And only red wine in the fall and the winter. We stick to a nice Pinot Noir. I'm a Pinot Noir
I have to answer
fan.
some questions here.
Okay, you're not a Pinot Noir fan.
No, in the chat room. I'm sorry. I'm just
okay.
seeing things that have come by a couple of times.
Okay.
I got the Lumia 720 from Expansis, and I have not had a chance to play with a Haswell equipped machine other than very quickly at Tech Ed. I mean, not any hands-on, battery life testing or anything like that. Sorry.
I'm excited about the Haswell
Pinot Noir. Back to Pinot Noir.
Yeah,
Pinot
this is This Week in Wines. Here on the
problem with Pinot Noir is that Pinot Noir is probably the one wine that differs the most greatly from bottle to bottle. So you could make a comment like, I like Pinot Noir, but that's a tough one because a lot of it is very different, and you won't actually like a lot of Pinot Noirs, or you'll find some type of Pinot Noir that you like, and it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's going to be like that one.
Thank you, Paul, for that tip.
There you go.
So I want to get to some of the questions that were kind of submitted to me. There were 2 interesting questions here. One was, will we ever see a third OS gain market share
in
the U.S.? I mean, that was
in
pretty
what market, like in computers,
computer
or
market,
phones?
the desktop market.
No, I don't think so. And I think that every market is different, and so we obviously know that the PC market is kind of coalesced around these 2 operating systems, Windows and Mac. So far, the mobile operating system market has coalesced around two platforms as well, iOS and Android. But honestly, this thing is in flux, and there is a big indication that it's going to be 3 ultimately. But I think the more interesting thing is when you combine these markets for PCs, for tablets, and for phones, and you get this sort of general view of personal computing, what you see literally is 3 major platforms: Android, Windows, and iOS/Mac. I mean, I realize it's not the same thing, but just to simplify it, Apple, I guess we could call it. And that these 3 things all have roughly identical market share. It's actually a pretty clean 30-30-30. It's not really, but it's kind of in that range. And so I don't know. The question in some ways is, I don't think the PC market is going to evolve enough for that to even matter. I think we need to look forward to how the tablet market's going to evolve and how the phone market's going to evolve, and those things are going to be a little different.
When I got that email, I started looking into what the Linux market share is, and it's not a fair assessment of what it is, because a lot of the Linux market share is not on the desktop. It's bizarre softwares that are running Linux and Unix. But I was looking at, out of the desktop builds, Ubuntu by far has taken over the Linux market. But out of that market, I mean, what percentage of users are using Ubuntu? I would imagine it's 1%, maybe a little over 1% at this point.
Of all computer users?
Desktop users.
I bet it's not even 1%, but
I almost want to say that I read that it was 1% like a year ago, but I could totally be making that up.
I think Linux is given 1% overall, but I think it's because there's no real way to measure it accurately. I don't think it's.
But I mean,
no. By the way, that doesn't. And people are they get really idioty about this stuff. Linux has seen great success in servers, especially in smaller servers, I guess. Windows Server actually has 75% market share in the server market, but the vast majority of data centers and businesses and the Fortune 500 and so forth have heterogeneous environments that have Linux, and they even have some Unix. And so, this is a very real thing. Linux people love to point out that Linux is behind Android, and that that means that Linux is successful. It is a major point that Android looks and works nothing like Linux, and that's the point. That's why Android is successful. It's not anything about Linux that makes Android successful.
I mean, the problem with Linux is that there's no standard operating system for Linux. It's a platform. It's open, and there's 50 different derivatives of what Linux is. There's Mint, there's this, and there's that. Sure. But if anybody's going to gain any kind of market share, the reality is that it's probably going to be Chrome, the Chrome OS. Right now, they just signed a deal that they're going to be in almost 2,200 Walmart stores and 4,800 by the end of the year. I'm sure that's going to help them with the market share, but what does that really mean? Does that have any kind of impact on the overall, market share of what Chrome OS is? And
we'll see.
How people are going to use it?
I don't think Chrome OS is going to amount to anything.
I mean, it's crazy that they're not using Android. They're using a separate, operating system. I mean, that's insane to me.
Android running the Chrome browser in a PC form factor would actually be a fairly legitimate threat to Windows at a time when, frankly, the mainstream computing market is moving away from computers anyway. So it's kind of a strange thing to say, but I really don't think Chrome OS has what it takes. And by the way, I say that coming from the perspective of someone who has maybe embraced cloud computing a little more wholeheartedly than a lot of people too. And I'm intrigued by it. But I always, I have the same reaction to Chrome OS that I have every time I use it, which is like, this is really limiting. It's really limiting.
Would you feel that way if it was Android and you had, almost every Android app that you have on your phone or tablet? It would be there.
In other words, on Android, Chrome is one of X number of 100,000 apps. I mean, that's what I mean. Chrome, Android rather, has dedicated mobile apps for email and for calendar and for, Angry Birds and whatever else. I mean, they have all that stuff. So, and obviously the web apps have gotten very sophisticated compared to the way they used to be. But, the offline issue is still an issue. It's not as pervasive as it could be. And these things tend to be extremely low, or I should say lightweight machines with regards to onboard storage and all that kind of stuff. And so you've got this form factor that gets decent battery life, and you take it on a plane, and you can't even watch movies on it because you can't really put anything on it. It's just not viable for the things that I think makes the most sense for most people.
I mean, but you do have a point. If the Google laptops are running Android, they are a viable threat to the Windows market share because 50-something% of all smartphones are using Android right now. It's a familiar platform for people to use, so why not have a desktop kind of version of Android, but have all those applications readily available to you if you're running this laptop?
Right.
I mean, it is interesting. I mean, but maybe they have a reason. Maybe they don't want to do that.
Everybody complains about Windows 8 and there are all these problems and blah, blah, blah. There are already more apps for Windows 8, just Metro apps, than there are for Chrome. I mean, just throwing that out there. I mean, and they all work offline, by the way. So I don't know. I just don't get it. But the best Chrome machine in the world is a laptop running Mac OS 10 or Windows.
Yeah.
So I just don't, it's cheap. I get that. But I think when people have a couple $100 to spend on something, a tablet makes more sense. And that tablet's going to run Android. It's going to be an iPad maybe, and hopefully in the future maybe it will be Windows too. But I mean it's not going to run Chrome OS.
So another question we got was, why is SMS still relevant, and why has there not been a replacement for it yet?
I don't know. Why questions are so hard?
That is a very hard question. I think because probably the providers don't want anything else. You know how many? Think about it, the closest competitor to SMS, right, over the last, let's say, 10 years, was probably BlackBerry Messenger.
Well,
they were the only
the closest
ones that
direct competitor. I mean, I would say things like Skype and FaceTime are what will be the nail in the coffin of the SMS stuff. Although, like the cockroach, I mean, SMS will probably be around, after the next Armageddon or whatever. I don't know. My brother sent me a message this morning. It was a picture of the beach, and he said, "This is the view from my hotel room in Florida." And so I took a picture of my chair and I said, "This is the view from my butt." And that's the typical kind of exchange that people have over SMS.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? SMS is like email light, and it's something that I think will always be around because wireless carriers can charge for it. It's like this extra thing. They love that. They love that it's this thing that they can charge for, even though it goes out over the normal networks,
So I think it's going to be around for a while unless there's some standard messaging service that everybody starts using, which I don't think is going to happen because it's so... Well,
there's all this stuff. It's never going to happen. There's like WhatsApp and there's all these things, but the truth is everybody already has it. Why replace it? What's wrong with it?
You know what I've been using a lot? I've been using iMessage across... as my SMS tool, I guess, because I could message my wife, I can message all my friends from my laptop, and I just do it.
Tell you what I just told Darren.
I'm dead to you. I know. I know. And I'm a Mets fan, so it kind of me and Darren are in the same boat.
iMessage wielding Mets fan.
Yeah. Somebody says Surface 2 at build, yes or no, or maybe just an update news about it.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. When you look at the recently leaked news about they're going to be selling RT to educational institutions for very cheap through the end of August. I think that's your schedule for this current generation of the products. I mean, that said, I believe it was June last year when they announced the original Surface, and they didn't release it until October. So you never know. I haven't heard anything about that, but clearly. I mean, if I was running Microsoft, I would get rid of RT, and I'm sorry. I would have RT on the mini Surface. I would have, I forget the name of it. Whatever the Clover Trail follow-up is, I would have a version of that for the low end, and I would have a Haswell version on the high end for Surface 2 Pro. That's how I would do it. Build would be a semi-obvious place to announce that stuff. I just haven't heard one way or the other. But they're going to be selling the current Surface Pro and RT at fire sale prices at Build. They're going to do that at Tech Ed Europe. They're going to do it to education over the summer. They're going to get rid of the current, crop, and we're not going to see it actually released, I don't think, until October. So,
discuss the negative aspects to installing Windows 8.1. Preview, please.
The negative aspect?
Yeah, negative aspects.
Well, I think the only negative aspect is going to be that for average users, you're not going to be able to do an in-place upgrade to the final version. So if you have a Windows RT or Windows 8 device, you install the Windows 8.1 preview next week. You install apps on top of that. You put your data in there and all that stuff. You're going to have to reinstall all of your apps. If you go to the final, when you go to the final version, because you will. And so that may be a little bit of a stumbling block. I mean, it's funny. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that because I reinstall Windows so often. I see that as a limitation. I think, I'm going to be doing that anyway. But the chances of me reinstalling Windows on my desktop and my laptop before the whatever release date of Windows 8.1 is a virtual guarantee. I mean, this is happening anyway for me.
Yeah.
So I don't really see it as a big deal.
Oh, hey, you know what I want to tell you? I started playing with Microsoft Lync.
Yeah.
I signed up for it.
Yeah.
And,
I signed up for it. How do you sign up for it?
You go to Lync. I don't know. You go to Microsoft. I guess I Google Microsoft Lync, and it's paid. I think it's $5.99 per account for a Microsoft Lync account.
Oh, you can get an Office 365 based account that's just Lync.
Yeah, you could just you could just get a Lync account. I think it's $6 a month, but for each account, it's $6 a month. So let's say I want to have everybody on the network to use Lync instead of Skype. I have to pay $6 for each account. There are some aspects of Lync that are far better than Skype.
Oh, that's for sure.
I mean, the messaging by far better than Skype. The video quality in some scenarios are better than Skype. Like one of the things was that it was able to do HD video with a capture card that I was sending HD to, but Skype is not able to do that. Skype is doing some weird, funky, anamorphic video with it.
We are still almost a year away from true Skype to Lync integration involving video. Right now, you can integrate Skype with Lync for instant messaging and for audio.
Not video.
Not video. And that's coming early in 2014. And so when that happens, I would not be surprised if I ended up using Lync solely and just did the Federation thing for
you know what?
Skype.
I use it. It was very limited at the time. I only used it for a couple hours because we were doing some testing.
It's a nice client.
Nice and clean.
It's a great, a great service. Lync is one of those hidden gems in Office 365. And so if you sign up for any business version of Office 365, meaning anything that isn't Office 365 Home Premium, Lync is part of the deal. And I think most people understand that Exchange comes with it. That's enterprise class email, and SharePoint comes with it, enterprise class document collaboration services. But Lync is that thing. I think even people who are in the business realm don't understand Lync very well. And Lync is a super clean, super high functional product that is sort of universal messaging. And so it's instant messaging, audio, video, including group video, and also online meetings, right? Which is like the old live meeting product, if you're familiar with that.
And
it's a combination of all this stuff.
I think for features like for what I'm looking to use, I'm looking to do it as a Skype alternative. I'm trying to dump Skype because of all the issues.
By the way, someday it will be an awesome Skype alternative.
From the reading that I did, and I'm hoping someone could tell me if I'm right or wrong, it doesn't go through all those super nodes that you go through with Skype. And you're actually going through a server that they're hosting on their side. So it's far more stable. You know what was the problem that I had with Lync? They don't give you, like with Skype, I could see the bit rate I'm sending. I could see the resolution I'm sending. You go to call technical info. That does not exist on Lync. They don't give you any call quality information. Like they don't tell you what kind of resolution you're sending, unless I'm missing it. The other thing was that I would look into hosting my own Lync server, which is about a couple $1,000s.
No, you don't want to do that. Well, okay. Actually, I'm sorry. I should say you maybe want to do that because of what you do. Most companies, most people, of course, would want to use the Microsoft hosted version. But honestly, actually, even for what you do, you never know. I mean, the way this stuff is going, that might not be a bad alternative in the future. The key, though, is that everyone has Skype and not everyone has Lync. And so you really need that Skype to Lync interoperability for this to be
for most people. Yeah, for the average user, absolutely.
No, but even for you, in other words, because you're going to have people on. You can't go through some BS instructional thing every time someone comes on a show where you say, okay, here's the instructions to download the Lync client. You have to use this. They would have no sign on. There's no way for a normal person to actually do this. Yeah. So you really need, you need to have that Skype integration. I think that's a baseline.
I mean, also the crazy part you know what? I wouldn't use it with a guest. I would use it with like you and me and whoever else is doing a regular show. But the problem that I found, and I found this bizarre considering it's a corporate class software, the documentation that existed for the questions that I had were for Lync 2010, not for Lync 2013. So any questions that I had about resolution and bitrate and how to adjust it,
a lot of it's out of date.
It was really out of date. And it did not exist. So I'm wondering if they're doing everything on their end. They're not giving you the option anymore to kind of adjust whatever you want to do. But I'm going to be playing around with it for a while, and I'm going to see if I could jump ship to it and possibly host my Lync server where I could kind of dictate, okay, well, I want to allocate 2 megabits per second for every Skype call because I know everybody that's doing a show for me has enough bandwidth.
Right.
Rather than, dealing with Skype. So I still have some testing, but I thought you might like it that I've been using it. You know why I'm using it? Because I heard
and pleased.
I'm using it because I heard you and MJ talking about it on Windows Weekly.
There you go.
On the Twit Network at 2 p.m. every Thursday. Nice little plug.
Yeah, I don't have it's funny. I have Lync. I have Lync. Obviously, I have Office 365. I don't have a lot of a chance to use it yet. But now that they're doing Skype integration on Audio IM, it's one of those things I play. In fact, Mary Jo and I, and also Raphael and I have experimented with this a little bit because you can bring in your Messenger contacts and your Skype contacts and use them in Lync. It's just not completely seamless yet. So I wish that we get the video thing going this year. It's too bad we have to wait so long.
But I'm actually surprised how well it worked. It was a good little surprise.
Yeah.
So I liked it. All right, we're going to be wrapping it up. One more question. So if you have a question, type it really fast. Is Paul smashed yet? No, but I don't know what it is about the show. I think it's because I drink on an empty stomach every time I do the show. But this one glass of sangria really did its job.
You're an embarrassing lightweight.
I'm not that bad.
So,
I'm such
Office 365 is available for Macs.
Old one though. It's not 2013.
Yeah, but it's still available. I mean, they're going to update it eventually. That's not really the point. I mean, it's there. I have used Clover Trail tablets. They're better than ARM tablets, but 2 gigs of RAM. What are you going to do? It's 32-bit operating system. Do
you think the plan with the Surface 2 or the next generation Surface is to wait to use Haswell on them?
There's this weird thing that happens with hardware releases when you from the perspective of a user and an enthusiast, I look at this release of Haswell and I think, why wouldn't Microsoft come out with this immediately? That's how I look at it. Apple did. Apple's very aggressive with that kind of stuff. From Microsoft's perspective, this is the first time they've gotten into the hardware business in this way. There's an investment that occurs. They want a return on their investment, that kind of thing. Doing all that R&D for a product that's going to be in the market for like 6 months is kind of a non-starter. And it's too bad because they knew this stuff was happening. I mean, they knew what they were getting into. I do think that a Surface Pro, if they didn't change anything else, just swapped out the chip, could be an important enough improvement just to do it. I think that they could do a minimum amount of work and maybe bump up the battery a little bit in there as well. And that would be a huge deal. But I also think that the big deal is, I think what they're probably going to do, though, is come out with a thinner version of the tablet, new form factor. That will get better battery life, same performance. And that's going to put it over the top. I mean, the Surface Pro today is great, but it gets like 4, maybe 5 hours of battery life.
Yeah, which is not.
It needs 7 or 8.
Yeah. It's a big problem. I'm excited about Haswell.
It doesn't matter what that says. Office 365 does not require a PC. That's not true.
I'm not doing any purchases until whatever I want to buy has Haswell on it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's pointless right now to buy anything with anything other than Haswell because the improvements on any laptop you're going to buy are going to be significant compared to anything you're getting now. Really.
Yeah, they're nice machines. I mean, I Haswell would put a Surface Pro over the top.
Yeah. That wraps it up, guys. We're done. Are you going anywhere? What are you doing? Well, what's your plans for this evening,
actually,
Paul?
yes, I am. So, in fact, next week's going to be screwed up for us. So we should get that out at some time.
So, what are we doing next week?
I don't know. We need to talk about this. Next Tuesday, I'm flying to San Francisco for Build. Mm-hmm. We're having, I don't remember the schedule, but we're doing some sort of blogger thing one of the nights, I think Thursday night in San Francisco. Friday night, we're going up to Petaluma. We're going to do like a Winners Weekly thing up at the Twitch Studios. And then that weekend, I'm going to hang around with some guys like my wife's coming out, and Mary Jo's going to be there. I don't know if you folks know, like Sandro or Long Zhang from Australia will be there. We're going to, go to Sonoma and do the wine thing over the weekend.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, finally we're going to turn one of these trips into something interesting. It's just like hang out and do, have a good time afterwards. But the way the schedule works is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is build. So there's a lot of stuff going on there because in addition to the obvious stuff that you know about, like the release of Windows 8 1 preview and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of events going on during the build week, and a lot more information will be coming out, not just about Windows 8 1, but Xbox, hopefully some phone stuff, although I haven't heard a lot of that. Tom Warren will be there, although Tom's not going to be there for the weekend. Tom will be at build. Tom Warren, yep.
So maybe we could do the show on Monday.
Yeah, that might be the best alternative because him and or I should say, someone said Paul loves Tom. Actually, by the way, Tom and I are actually very good friends and have been friends for a long time. So I think don't misconstrue.
I met Tom. I think when we went to that Chinese place, Tom was there.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Nice guy.
He works for a bad publication, but he'll move past that eventually. No, I've known Tom for a long time. He's a good guy. The week that we're in build, when we're in San Francisco, those 3 days are going to be really busy. And rather than try to schedule something and not be able to do it, I think if we could do it next Monday, that might be the best deal.
Okay, so we'll do it Monday. Actually, that's actually perfect for me.
Okay.
Say hi to Leo for me.
I'm not going to see Leo. So
You're not going to see Leo?
Yeah, no, the other weird thing is that completely coincidentally, so we're all going up to Twit, not the Twit Cottage, whatever they call it now, the Brick House or whatever. And he won't be there because his son is doing some kind of a college, I don't know, orientation.
Who are you doing it with, Ayaz?
Yeah.
Ayaz is from Queens.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
So say hi to him. Just say hi to anybody.
Well, I mean, so Alex will be there. I think you know Alex.
Alex is a nice guy. Yeah, Alex is a really nice guy.
I'm hoping. Yeah, I think he's going to hang out with us a little bit over the weekend as well. And yeah, I mean, everyone's going to be there except for Leo, so that's going to be great. So we're going to do like a live thing at the. I know it's so weird, but I mean, there's a lot of people at Twit that I don't get to see. I mean, once every 2 years. Or something, so it's cool.
Well, you don't really go often. I mean,
yeah,
you're in New York more
every 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so it should be fun. And then you're coming to New York on the 11th?
I think it is. the 11th.
So the 11th is a Thursday.
All right, let me look it up. So, Internet Explorer has stopped working. I love you.
I think it is. I think you're right. I think the 11th is the day.
Well, okay, but I can tell you. Oh, you know that. Okay, you've seen the schedule.
So we'll figure something out. We'll do something fun.
There's music playing in the background. I don't see it on my calendar, so I don't know what day it is. Right.
But if you want to follow Paul on Twitter at The Rot, I'm at Andrew Zarian. If you could follow me, most of the time I'm just having back and forth with Paul. That's the only person I really talk to on a regular basis on Twitter. I only have one real Twitter friend. We maybe Twitter BFFs.
Ooh,
possibility. Okay. I don't want to push it yet. But you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow the GFQ Network at GFQ Network on Twitter. Of course, guys, subscribe to the show. I encourage you guys, please, I beg you guys, subscribe to the show. We're on iTunes. We're on Windows Phone. We're everywhere podcasts are available. The more you subscribe, the better it is for me.
The more you win.
The more you win if you subscribe. Also, we're on Roku. We have a phenomenal Roku app. We're on there. You can watch us live in HD, or you could watch all our shows on demand on the GFQ Network. Next week, we'll be live Monday at 3 p.m. East because Paul's traveling. He has something called Build that he's going to go to. So maybe we'll do like a Build pre-show. We'll talk about Build a little bit. And that's about it, guys. So we'll see you all next week on What the Tech. Good night, everybody.